Essex County Airport, New Jersey, July 16th, 1999, 8:38 in the evening. The air smells of aviation fuel and cut grass, humidity thick enough to taste. The sun set 25 minutes ago. A man walks slowly, laboriously across the tarmac with heavy crutches, his right ankle cast removed just yesterday, still swollen, still tender. He approaches a plane, single-engine Piper Saratoga, a new white and blue model with 6 seats, the kind of aircraft that requires skill, demands respect, and any mistake must be paid for. Then a woman approaches, blonde hair pulled back, elegant even in simple clothes with a tense face. She carries a small bag. Inside is a $1,600 dress, for a wedding tomorrow. Another woman waits by the plane. She's the older sister, 34, Morgan Stanley executive. She came from Manhattan to be peacemaker, to convince her sister go to the wedding, give the marriage one more chance. She succeeded, and all 3 leave together. A flight instructor stands nearby. He knows the conditions. He knows this pilot's experience, and knows the numbers well: 310 total hours, 55 at night, 36 in this specific aircraft. And it seems he's sensed something unsettling. He offers, "I can fly with you tonight if you'd like." The man on crutches doesn't hesitate. "No, thanks. I've got it." A brief, calm, and certain answer. The tone of someone who has made this decision before the question was asked. On the passenger seat, a pilot's logbook, leather-bound, pages of flight hours logged in careful handwriting. 72 hours without certified flight instructor. Is that enough? A question hanging in the air. One no one can answer. What about the weather visibility 10 miles along the route? 4 miles at the destination. Visual flight rules conditions. You can fly. But should you? Meanwhile, other pilots at the airport are canceling. Too hazy. Too risky. And tonight is not ideal for flying. But the man with crutches boards. The blonde woman follows with reluctance. The sister follows full of hope. 3 people, 1 airplane, 1 decision, made in a light that makes everything look calmer than it really is. And then the door closes. The engine turns over, and the night begins to take what it's been waiting for. Did everything happen by chance, or was it the result of a chain of events? Of an arrangement, let's analyze this together. Chapter 1. Who is he? His full name, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Jr., born November 25, 1960, at Georgetown University Hospital, Washington, D.C., 7 pounds 2 ounces, second child, first son. The pregnancy announced during the presidential campaign, the birth 17 days after his father won the election. He entered the world already famous, already watched, already belonging to everyone before he belonged to himself. Son of the 35th President of the United States. November 22nd, 1963. Dallas, Dealey Plaza, 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Shots fired. The president is struck, dead at 46. 3 days before John Jr.'s 3rd birthday. The child too young to understand what dead means. Too young to grasp that father is not coming back. Too young for everything except the cameras, which understand perfectly, which record everything, which never stop watching. After the assassination, the family moves. First Georgetown, then 1040 Fifth Avenue. Manhattan, 15 rooms overlooking Central Park. Marble, chandeliers, doormen. The kind of apartment that costs more than most Americans earn in a lifetime. Luxury as fortress, wealth as moat. But you cannot buy privacy when you are living memorial. Jacqueline Kennedy had a plan to give the children as normal an upbringing as possible. She tries, creates routines, enforces bedtimes, insists on please and thank you, sends them to regular schools as schools can be when Secret Service agents station themselves in hallways. When classmates whisper, when every parent knows exactly who sits beside their child. But how? How normal can childhood be when your father was an assassinated president, when your mother is the most famous woman in America, when tourists gather outside your building hoping for a glimpse, when photographers chase you to school, when your grief is front-page news, when strangers cry at the mention of your name. This is truly terrible and beyond imagination for an innocent child. This is something you must note. The inheritance begins here, not chosen, not requested, simply inflicted. He grows up handsome. Dark hair, strong jaw, his father's smile, his mother's eyes. By adolescence, 6'1", broad shoulders, the kind of looks that make people stare, that make cameras follow, that make ordinary life impossible. 1979. He enrolled at Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island, American Studies major. Finally, a chance to live a normal life. College where everyone is young. Everyone is figuring themselves out, except he is not nobody. Years later, biographies will make it clear he most certainly got into Brown because of his name, not because of grades, not because of test scores, because admissions officers knew what it meant to reject John F. Kennedy Jr. He tries anyway. Co-founds Student Discussion Group, with the most prominent and hottest topics of that time: apartheid, gun control, civil rights, serious issues, substantive debate, attempting to prove that he has brain. Not just name that he cares about policy, not just legacy. He pledges Phi Psi, local social fraternity, drinks beer, plays touch football, dates, studies, does what college students do, performs normalcy so convincingly that maybe, sometimes, even he believes it. And after graduation, the world decides who he is. 1988, People magazine names him sexiest man alive. Not most accomplished, not most intelligent, not most promising. Sexiest. His body commodified, his face public property. Speaking of his relationships, Sally Monroe, 6 years, Brown classmate. She understood him, she knew him before the magazine covers intensified. Then Daryl Hannah, actress, 5.5 years, gorgeous, famous herself. They make sense on paper, two beautiful people. Two famous names. The tabloids love it. In addition, there were Cindy Crawford, Brooke Shields, Sarah Jessica Parker, Madonna. The list grows. Every date photographed, every dinner analyzed, every breakup speculated upon. Sarah Jessica Parker will later say something true. Dating Kennedy became the defining factor of who I was. Not her acting, not her career, not herself, just woman who dated JFK Jr. From here, do you notice something? Every relationship tabloid fodder, every girlfriend's identity consumed by proximity to his, every private moment made public, love as performance, intimacy as headline, the inheritance people imagine wealth, trust funds established by Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., shares in family enterprises, the compound at Hyannis Port, real estate, securities, money that means never worrying about rent, about groceries, about ordinary things. Try to imagine yourself in his life. Could it be normal? But that is not the inheritance that matters. The inheritance that matters: mythology, being symbol before being person, being answer to the question, whatever happened to that little boy? Being vessel for the nation's nostalgia, being proof that Camelot continues, that the dream survives, that something good emerged from November 22nd, 1963. You do not choose this inheritance. You cannot refuse it. It simply is. Like eye color, like bone structure, like the fact that your father's murder is the most famous murder in American history, and you are the son who survived. Every birthday, also anniversary of funeral. Every November, another wave of documentaries. Every introduction, oh my God, you're John Kennedy's son. Every achievement evaluated against impossible standard. Every failure proof you are not your father. Every success dismissed as consequence of your name. The question no one asks, but everyone wonders, can you inherit an identity, or does inherited identity consume you? Can you be yourself when everyone already decided who you are? Can you build life when you are born into ending of someone else's story? Can you escape mythology? Or does trying to escape it destroy you? We will spend the next hour discovering the answer. But first, we must understand the wound. 2. The wound. Now, we go back to the moment that defined everything. November 25th, 1963. John F. Kennedy Jr.'s 3rd birthday. Also his father's funeral. Washington. D.C. cold. Gray sky threatening rain. The kind of day that feels like ending. St. Matthew's Cathedral. Red brick. Roman Catholic. The Kennedy family church. Inside diplomats. Heads of state. Senators. Congressmen. Outside crowds 10 deep lining Pennsylvania Avenue. 1 million people. Silent. Weeping. Watching. A horse-drawn caisson carries the flag-draped casket. 6 gray horses. Caparison black cloth with silver fringe draped over the riderless horse following behind. Boots reversed in stirrups. Ancient military symbol, a warrior who will ride no more. Jacqueline Kennedy walks behind the caisson. Black veil, black coat, holding the hands of 2 children. Caroline, 5 years old. John, 3, both dressed formally. Caroline in pale blue coat. John in pale blue coat and red shoes. Short pants. The fashion for little boys then. They reach the cathedral steps, and then the moment. Jacqueline Kennedy leans down, whispers something to her son. What does she say? We will never know. The audio does not capture it, but the child hears, the child understands. The casket passes. John Kennedy Jr. steps forward. Right hand rises to forehead, palm flat, fingers together. Salute. 3 years old. Saluting his father's casket on his birthday. In front of 1 million people in person and 93 million watching at home. The cameras capture it. The moment freezes, becomes photograph, becomes icon, becomes the single most famous image of a child in American history. NBC News vice president later calls it the most impressive shot in the history of television. Photographer Dan Farrell, who took the photo, will say 40 years later, the saddest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Both statements true, both horrifying in their truth. The moment captures something profound performance required at instant of maximum grief. What does a 3-year-old understand about death, about forever, about the fact that father who threw you in the air, who laughed, who was there yesterday, will never be there again? How does a child process your father was shot? How does that sentence enter a mind still learning words like yesterday and tomorrow? The child cannot understand. But the salute shows he understood something. He understood what was expected. He understood his role. He understood that this moment required him to be strong, to be dignified, to be symbol. Be symbol when you need to be child. This is the lesson. Age 3. Learned not through words but through cameras. Through whispered instructions, through the weight of 1 million watching eyes, the lesson that will shape every moment after. Lyndon Johnson. New president, writes his first letter in office to the child, you can always be proud of your father. A kind letter, a well-meaning letter. But notice what it says, you can be proud. Not you can be sad, not you can be confused, not you can be 3 years old and not understand. And that is okay. You can be proud. What about being allowed to be sad? What about being allowed to not understand? What about being allowed to scream, to cry, to pound small fists against the unfairness of a father stolen, of a birthday ruined, of a life made public before it could become private? What about being allowed to be 3? The lesson internalized. Your grief belongs to everyone. Your pain is public property. Your tears are national news. Your identity exists for others' needs, not your own. Is this truly reasonable for a 3-year-old child? Is it unjust? This is the next point to note. From here, the coping mechanism forms. Not consciously, not deliberately, but inevitably. Show strength when you feel weak. Perform capability when you need help. Be symbol when you want to be human. Initially, this works. Jacqueline Kennedy is fierce in protecting what remains of childhood. She moves the children away from Washington, away from the White House-made tomb. She enforces normalcy school, homework, bedtime. She limits press access. She says no, often, loudly. She builds walls around her children made of money and lawyers and sheer maternal will. The children grow. Caroline becomes serious, studious. John becomes charming, athletic, both functional, both seemingly fine. College, Brown University, away from constant watching. The performance continues, but with more breathing room. Student discussion groups, touch football, fraternity, girlfriends, the trappings of normal young adulthood. After college, the world embraces him, sexiest man alive, most eligible bachelor, America's prince. The performance convinces everyone, the handsome son of the martyred president, thriving, successful, proof that tragedy can be overcome with all the greatest, most splendid praise and adulation. Maybe the performance convinces him too. Maybe he believes it. Maybe he thinks I'm fine. I survived. I am normal. The wound healed. But it's all just performance. A performance he was forced to play the full role in, with no choice, you know. Wounds do not heal just because you stop looking at them. Scars remain. And sometimes 9 years from now, 36 years from now, scars split open. The question forming but not yet asked, what happens when the performance becomes the person? When you have been performing so long you can no longer tell the difference between what you show and what you feel, between the symbol you were made into and the human you might have been. What happens when showing strength becomes the only way you know how to be weak? What happens when performing capability becomes the only way you know how to ask for help? What happens when being symbol for 36 years makes being human impossible? The answer is coming. Chapter 3. The Pivot, 1989, New York University School of Law, Juris Doctor degree, 3 years of contracts, torts, constitutional law, John F. Kennedy, Jr., law school graduate. August 1989, joins Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Salary $30,000 per year. Sworn in as Assistant District Attorney before passing bar exam. This is abnormal. In terms of procedure, you need bar passage to prosecute cases. But he is JFK Jr. Exceptions made. Consumer fraud cases, landlord-tenant disputes, small cases, learning while preparing for exam that will make job official. Let's go back a bit to his exam taking. July 1989, first bar exam attempt. 2 days. 12.5 hours total. Multiple choice. Essays. Performance test. New York bar, one of hardest in nation. Pass rate around 60% for first-time takers. Results come weeks later. He fails. Not close. Just fail. This happens. Many smart people fail bar on first attempt. Michelle Obama failed Illinois. Hillary Clinton failed D.C. Franklin Roosevelt failed New York. You study again. Take it again. Pass. Next. February 1992, bar exam attempt. He studies, prepares. Surely this time. Results come. Fails again. This time 11 points short. Out of 1,000 possible points. Reportedly scores 649, passing 660. 11 points. Difference between career and catastrophe. May 1st. 1990 News Conference. Kennedy, 29. Faces cameras, different cameras than funeral. Same scrutiny, same performance required. Makes joke, self-deprecating, charming. I'm clearly not a major legal genius. Laughter, sympathetic. Vows to take exam until I'm 95 or passes. More laughter. Makes failure seem casual, temporary. No big deal, but stakes not casual. Colleen Roche, DA spokesperson, makes clear all assistants get 3 chances. Long-standing office policy. He will be asked to resign if he fails again. 3 chances, 2 gone, 1 left. Entire legal career hangs on 3rd attempt. Public spectacle begins. People magazine, May 21st, 1990. Cover. His face. Handsome, famous, now associated with failure. Headline, JFK Jr., Flubbed the bar exam, America's uncrowned prince, facing 30 years old. Subtext clear. Maybe not smart enough. Maybe name is all he has. New York Post, hunk flunks. 2 words. Front page, every newsstand. Cannot walk down street without seeing it. Cannot buy coffee without recognition as guy who failed. Twice, Rosemarie Terenzio. Later, his executive assistant. Remembers, people fail things all the time. But it's not on front page of New York Post as you're going down street. I think those things were upsetting to him and it hurt him. Not private failure. National headline. Public humiliation. The kind that follows. That people remember. That becomes part of story. Kennedy writes letters. To friends, to strangers. To Mike Tyson. Shares philosophy. Today's headlines are lining tomorrow's trash cans. No amount of bad press is going to change your life if people around you love and respect you. Brave words. True words, but also words of someone trying to convince himself. Performance continues. Smile in public. Joke about it. Act like does not matter, but privately wound deepens. Summer 1990, turning point. Signs up for Marino's bar review course. Professor Marino specializes in repeat takers. Different approach, strategy, test-taking technique. Kennedy studies differently. More hours, more focus. Less assumption name will carry him. Professor Marino later reports helped Kennedy increase multi-state bar exam score by 46 points. 46 points, difference between 11 short and 35 over. July 1993 attempt. 2 days. Everything riding on this. Career, reputation, proof he is more than name. Weeks pass. Waiting. Results. He passes. Relief. Celebration. 3rd time. But did it. Legal career saved. Crisis averted. But something fundamental has broken, and here, at this moment, the psychological transformation begins. Let's summarize briefly. Before bar exam failures birth through age 27 being JFK Jr. equals asset. Name opens every door. Admitted to Brown. Admitted to NYU law. Gets DA job before passing bar. Dates famous actresses. Named sexiest man alive. Name protects. Name enables. Name works. Performance of normalcy works. Gets through childhood trauma, through young adulthood. Mechanism formed at age 3 continues to serve him. But in the opposite direction. The bar exam is different. Blind grading. Name does not appear. Graders see only candidate number. Anonymous. Father's legacy cannot fill in answers. Charm cannot smile through torts. Fame cannot multiple choice to passing. For first time in 29 years being JFK's son, not enough. For first time must be competent. Not just connected. For first time, mythology cannot save. Must save yourself. And cannot. Not first try. Not second. Only third. With help. With tutor. With 46-point improvement. This is a profound and costly lesson he had to realize. Name not enough. I am not enough. Must prove deserved name. Must prove worthy of inheritance. Must demonstrate competence matches celebrity. A new burden appears. A new pressure? This is moment. Pivot. Shift. Before name is advantage. After name is thing to prove worthy of. Next 9 years, 1990 to 1999, spent trying to prove. Prove Smart Launches Magazine George. Editor-in-chief. Publisher. Creator. Building something bearing his name because earned it. Prove capable, learns to fly. Gets pilot's license. Buys plane. Flies himself. No chauffeur, no pilot, just him and machine and sky. Prove independent, refuses special treatment. Rollerblades to meetings. Lives in industrial Tribeca loft. Regular guy. Normal life. Prove does not need help, refuses assistance again and again. Refuses security. Refuses advice. Refuses support. Each action response to bar exam wound. Each achievement attempt to prove failures wrong, each refusal of help, proof of self-sufficiency. Trying never stops. 4. The proof begins. 5 years after bar exam passage, 5 years of proving. September 7th, 1995. Federal Hall, New York City, Wall Street, the building where George Washington took oath as first president. Symbolic location, deliberately chosen. Nothing about this launch is accidental. Press conference, cameras everywhere, reporters packed shoulder to shoulder, the room crackling with anticipation. Kennedy stands at podium, flanked by two men, Michael J. Berman, business partner, childhood friend, creative collaborator, the man who helped develop the concept, who believed in the vision, and David Pecker, publisher, president of Hachette Media, the man with the money, the man taking the risk. Kennedy speaks, confident, prepared. This is his moment. He is launching a political magazine called George, named after first U.S. President. George Washington, not Kennedy, not Camelot. George, the founder, the beginning, the original American icon. Tagline, not just politics as usual. The concept: marry politics with pop culture. Make political discourse accessible, entertaining, compelling. Stop treating politics like homework for wonks. Start treating politics like what it is: drama, power, sex, money, ambition, the most compelling human stories happening in real time. This is not new idea in abstract, but Kennedy can execute it in a way no one else can. He has access. He has name. Politicians will talk to him. Celebrities will pose for him. He can get meetings no other editor could get. The name that wounded him at bar exam now serves him here. The first cover unveiled at press conference. Model Cindy Crawford dressed as George Washington. White wig, Revolutionary War uniform. Photographer Herb Ritz. Black and white. Stunning. Absurd. Perfect. The image receives enormous attention. Magazine has not even hit newsstands yet, and everyone is talking about it. Crawford as Washington. Politics as fashion. Entertainment as civic engagement. It works. God, it works. September 1995. George launches. First issue instant sellout. Newsstands cannot keep it in stock. Second issue same. Combined. First 2 issues generate 350 advertising pages. Publication records shattered. Advertisers fighting for space. This is what success looks like. The vision articulates something true. Kennedy tells New York Times his generation, youngest baby boomers. Generation X views politics as another aspect of cultural life, not all that different from sports and music and art. He is prescient. He is ahead of curve. In 1995. This sounds optimistic, maybe naive. 20 years later, he will be proven right. Politics will become entertainment. Cable news will become drama. Political figures will become celebrities. Trump will become president precisely by understanding what Kennedy understood. Politics is performance, narrative, personality. But in 1995, Kennedy is pioneer. He is seeing future before it arrives. The success builds. By 1996, 1 year after launch, circulation reaches 400,000. George becomes country's largest political magazine. Not just surviving, thriving. The demographic perfect. Average reader 36 years old. Median household income $65,000. Over 90% college educated. 60% women. These are exactly the people advertisers want. Educated, affluent. Female readers traditionally underserved by political magazines. George is tapping market no one else reached. This is the proof Kennedy has been seeking since bar exam failures. Proof he is not just son of JFK, not just handsome face, not just famous name coasting on inheritance, but builder, creator, entrepreneur. The dream is working. Hachette Media invests $20 million over 5 years. That is real money. That is vote of confidence. David Pecker, publisher, believes. Advertisers line up, pages sold months in advance. Celebrities want to be on cover. Politicians want to be interviewed. George is hot, relevant, successful. Kennedy is proving what he set out to prove 5 years ago. After third bar exam attempt, after national humiliation. After learning name alone is not enough. The office buzzes. Staff young, energetic, believing they are part of something important. Combining politics and celebrity, making civic engagement cool. This is 90s optimism, pre-cynicism, before internet destroys print magazines, before economic crashes, before terrorism. This is moment when anything seems possible. When glossy magazine launched by President's son seems like future. Not anachronism. Kennedy in his element, conducting editorial meetings, assigning stories, courting advertisers. This is work he chose, career he built, success he earned. The bar exam wound begins to heal, or seems to, what we do not see yet, what no one sees the cracks forming. Chapter 5. The Paradox. 4 years later, 1999. The vision has not changed. Kennedy still believes, but the thing he built to prove his worth is now destroying it. January 1998. Every television in America shows the same story. President Clinton, intern, Oval Office. The word impeachment everywhere. This is the story George was created for. Politics as drama, power as personality, the human story behind the headlines, everything Kennedy promised when he launched the magazine. The editorial team gathers in the George office, 30th floor, Broadway and Worth Street. Someone suggests we should cover this. Kennedy goes quiet. The room waits. We're not doing that. Not angry, not defensive, just final. The meeting ends. The story dies. George publishes something else, something safer, something serious. Keith Kelly, media reporter who covers George closely, will later observe, I think he was a little hamstrung by his own family history with those things. Here is the paradox that will kill the magazine George needs to be provocative. Celebrity-driven, entertaining the politics as pop culture fusion Kennedy promised at Federal Hall in 1995. But Kennedy needs George to prove he is serious, substantive, worthy of the name he inherited. These two needs cannot coexist. The bar exam taught him name alone is not enough. Must prove worthy through seriousness, through substance, through demonstrating competence that matches celebrity. So every editorial decision becomes referendum on worthiness. Every story selection becomes test. Does this prove I'm serious? Does this prove I earned this Dan Rostenkowski instead of Princess Diana? Policy wonks instead of John Gotti Jr. Substance when the market wants sensation. The magazine designed to break rules must follow them obsessively. George is constrained by exactly what should make it powerful. The partnership fracture. Michael J. Berman, childhood friend, co-founder, creative collaborator, leaves sometime before 1999. No announcement, no press release, just gone. What happened between them, the record does not say, but people who worked there remember the tension. Berman wanting George to be what it promised, provocative, entertaining, risk-taking. Kennedy needing it to prove something else entirely. Creative vision versus psychological need. Entertainment versus vindication. The friendship cannot survive the contradiction. Years later, when asked about the split, people who were there go quiet. Some wounds you do not discuss. February 1999. David Pecker, the publisher who funded George, who believed in the vision, sits across from Kennedy. Pecker is leaving Hachette, going to American Media Inc., National Enquirer, Star, the tabloids. The irony cuts deep. The man who funded politics as entertainment is leaving for publications that actually do entertainment. Pecker will later say something true and devastating. Kennedy showed refusal to take risks as editor, despite being extraordinary risk-taker in other areas of his life. Think about that. The man who will fly a plane with a healing ankle through marginal weather will not publish a provocative interview. The man who rollerblades through Manhattan traffic will not run stories that might seem tabloid. Why? Because flying a plane proves capability, physical courage, control. But publishing tabloid content proves the opposite, that he is not serious, not substantive. Just another celebrity trading on a famous name. Cannot risk that. Not after bar exam. Not after learning that name without substance equals nothing. The trap closes. Jack Kliger replaces Pecker, works with Kennedy on rescue strategy. Reduce frequency, cut costs, pivot to digital. But these are tactics. The problem is not operational. The problem is fundamental. If George succeeds by being tabloid, celebrity-driven, provocative, Kennedy has not proven seriousness, has not earned the name. Bar exam lesson confirmed name is all he has. If George fails by being too serious, too substantive, Kennedy has not proven capability, cannot build successful enterprise. Bar exam lesson confirmed not competent enough. No exit, no way to win. The newsstand numbers come in, down, again. Flip through any issue from late 1999. White space where luxury brands used to advertise. Pages that should show Rolex. Mercedes, single malt Scotch empty, or filled with house ads. George advertising itself because no one else will. Subscription base holds at 400,000. Readers who still believe. But magazines do not survive on reader belief. They survive on advertising dollars, and advertisers are gone, week before his death. Kennedy co-pilots Piper Saratoga to Toronto, business meeting, Canadian investors, Hachette planning to cut financial ties. George's future depends on strangers finding money for a bleeding publication. He comes back reportedly optimistic, still believing, still trying, also planning online chats with presidential candidates, Microsoft providing technology, digital pivot, last chance. But also contradictory reports surface later. Pecker claims Kennedy told him of plans to quit after the weekend, walk away. Yet Rosemarie Terenzio, his assistant, insists he was still fighting. Canadian investors, Microsoft deals, last-ditch efforts. Which version is true? Perhaps Kennedy himself did not know. Perhaps by July 1999. The question is no longer, can I save George? But who am I if I cannot? The identity crisis. This is not just business failure. This is existential collapse. Since bar exam, Kennedy has defined himself through proving, launch magazine, prove smart. Learn to fly, prove capable. Refuse special treatment, prove independent. Each achievement response to the wound. Each success answer to the question, are you worthy of the name? George was supposed to be the ultimate proof, not just assistant DA prosecuting small cases, not just lawyer who barely passed bar on third attempt, builder, creator, entrepreneur, magazine with his name on masthead because he earned it, not because he inherited it. 9 years of building toward this vindication. And now collapsing, magazine hemorrhaging money, partnership dissolved, investors fleeing. If not successful magazine editor, then what if not proof that Kennedy name can be earned and not just inherited? Then what, just son of assassinated president? Handsome face, famous name, bar exam failure who needed 3 attempts and a tutor. Man who got opportunities because of mythology but could not capitalize. Everything the bar exam taught him to fear. Kennedy's desk, Friday evening, July 16th, stack of magazines. September 1995. Cindy Crawford as Washington. Cover so hot, newsstands sold out in hours. He picks up July 1999. Flips through. Page 7, half-page ad where full page used to be. Page 12, house at George promoting itself. Page 19, white space where Rolex ran for 3 years. He closes it. Outside his window, Manhattan. Friday evening heat. People leaving offices, heading to weekend. To normal lives where failure stays private. Tomorrow wedding. Martha's Vineyard. Carolyn's cousin Rory. Carolyn agreed to go first time in months. She has agreed to anything. If he cancels, marriage over. Another public failure. Another proof that Kennedy cannot maintain what he builds. Everything collapsing at once. Magazine dying. Marriage ending. Identity dissolving. And one thing he can still prove. One capability he can still demonstrate. He can fly himself there. 6. The Cage. Carolyn Jeanne Bessette. Born January 7th, 1966. White Plains, New York. Middle-class origins. Not wealth, not privilege. Work. She earned her identity. Boston University, elementary education degree, 1988. After college, Calvin Klein starts as saleswoman at mall, hired on spot resemblance to model Elaine Irwin. Works her way up, director of show productions, low six figures. Colleague Stormy Stokes remembers, "We both lived in East Village, took same subway to work, went to same bars, and we were so broke, neither of us could afford blowout or dye our hair." She had salary, colleagues, subway rides, friends, career, identity. She had self before him. The choice. 1992. They meet at Calvin Klein's showroom where she works. He comes for fitting. Complication, he is dating Daryl Hannah, actress, 5.5 years together. But something about Carolyn. The relationship begins almost immediately. The overlap. By summer 1995, she moves into his Tribeca loft. Later that year, engaged. But Kumar Nair, interviewing friends for biography, reports, "More than 2 friends told me that John Jr. asking her to marry him was real inner conflict for her. She knew what marrying him meant. Paparazzi, scrutiny, mythology, privacy destroyed. Friend says simply, Carolyn didn't want to be famous. She chose love anyway, knowing the cost, understanding the cage." September 21st, 1996. Wedding, Cumberland Island, Georgia. First African Baptist Church. Tiny chapel, candlelight, secret from press. Dress Narciso Rodriguez, her friend from Calvin Klein. Pearl white silk crepe, simple, elegant, hers. Caroline Kennedy, matron of honor. Anthony Radziwill, best man. Small, private, so theirs. Honeymoon Turkey, then return to Tribeca, to 20 North Moore Street, to Pale Green Door, to Siege. The Pale Green Door, 2,600 square feet, industrial aesthetic exposed brick, timber beams, barrel-vaulted ceilings, deliberately unglamorous, part of his performance of normalcy. Nicknames, Home Depot. The warehouse. No family photos displayed. Strategic privacy. Notable artwork. Black and white photograph of 1940s convicts dancing in prison courtyard. Even the art speaks imprisonment. Post-wedding media attention intensifies. Pale Green Door becomes one of most photographed entrances in America during 90s. Cannot leave without cameras. Paparazzi wait outside every morning. Photos of her fetch 1,000 to 6 figures. Her face, body, privacy, all commodities now. She tells friend, "If I don't leave house before 8 a.m., they're waiting for me. Every morning, they chase me down the street." This is her life now. Cannot grocery shop, cannot have dinner out, cannot walk to Subway she used to take to Calvin Klein every day. That life Subway, salary, colleagues, morning coffee, identity gone. This life cameras. Scrutiny. Mythology inescapable. The cruel mathematics. He needs to perform normalcy. She needs actual normalcy. His performance requires public stage magazine office, social events, being seen being normal. Her sanity requires private life grocery shopping without cameras, dinner without recognition, morning walk without chase. His coping mechanism escape emotion through motion. When George office becomes uncomfortable, work longer hours. When home becomes tense, stay at office. When marriage struggles, focus on magazine. Displacement through performance. Her reality, she has no office to escape to, no colleagues to distract, no salary to validate, no identity separate from his. Magazine failing, he has marriage to focus on. Marriage failing, she has nothing. Marriage is all that remains. He performs affection, avoids intimacy, cannot be vulnerable, that would mean admitting failure. Breaking performance, proving bar exam right. She craves connection, trapped in performance. Needs him present. Not performing, needs partner, not symbol. 2 people, 2 incompatible needs, 1 marriage. He cannot admit marriage failing would be another inadequacy after George. After bar exam. She cannot leave. Where would she go? Back to Calvin Klein after quitting, back to identity that no longer exists by mid-1999. Reportedly living separately. She at Stanhope Hotel, he at Tribeca Loft. Rumors of substance use, rumors of affairs, unverified. Irrelevant whether true. Marriage itself is rumor. Speculation. Public property. Cannot fight privately. Cannot reconcile privately. Cannot even fail privately. Every argument, potential tabloid headline. Every separation front-page news. Every attempt to save marriage performed for cameras outside pale green door. July 14th, 2 days before. Lunch at Stanhope Hotel. Carolyn with sister Lauren. Lauren Bissett, 34. Morgan Stanley executive. Unlike Carolyn, she kept career, kept identity, kept life outside Kennedy mythology. Lauren as peacemaker. Encouraging go to Rory's wedding. Go to compound. Give marriage one more chance. Carolyn agrees. Not because she believes it will work. Because what else remains? July 16th. The day. Afternoon. Carolyn shopping. She purchases $1,640 black dress for Rory's wedding tomorrow. Spending over $1,000 on costume for performance. Performance of reconciliation. Performance of happy marriage. Performance of Kennedy wife. She had identity once. Salary. Subway. Colleagues. Purpose. Now expensive dress for wedding she does not want to attend. To save marriage she does not know how to save. To perform role she never wanted. He prepares plain. She prepares costume. Both preparing for wedding, neither wants. To save marriage, neither knows how. One more performance. Maybe this time it works. Maybe at compound. Away from Tribeca, away from cameras, away from pale green door, maybe they find what they had. Maybe love is enough. But love cannot save someone who cannot stop performing. Love cannot reach someone who learned at age 3 perform strength, never show weakness. Love cannot survive when one person needs connection and other person needs proof. She boards the plane. Reluctant, tense, late. Lauren boards. Peacemaker, trying to save them. He boards. On crutches, alone. Sufficient. 3 people. 1 cage. Fatal trajectory. Chapter 7. The Spiral. April 1998. Obtained private pilot certificate 15 months before death. June 1998. High performance airplane endorsement. May 1999. Complex airplane sign-off for Piper Saratoga. Specifically. 2 months before death. Total flight experience approximately 310 hours. Night flying experience approximately 100 hours. Flight time in this specific airplane about 36 hours, of which 9.4 hours at night. 72 hours logged without certified flight instructor present. These are not impressive numbers. These are concerning numbers. Completed FAA written instrument exam 4 months before accident. Passed theory, but did not possess instrument rating. New theory of instrument flying. Lacked certification for actual instrument conditions. Classic Kennedy paradox. Enough knowledge to be confident. Not enough humility to be safe. In 15 months before accident, flew approximately 35 legs from Essex County or Teterboro to Martha's Vineyard or Hyannisport area. Over 17 legs without flight instructor. At least 5 at night. He had done this before. Successfully. Past success breeds fatal confidence. Last known solo flight, May 28th. 1999. 6 weeks before crash. Has not flown alone in over a month. Rusty. July 15th, day before flight. Cast removed from broken ankle at Lenox Hill Hospital. Paragliding accident. May 28th. 6 weeks healing. Ankle still tender. Still swollen. Required continued use of crutches. Day before flight, already physically compromised. Already requiring assistance to walk. And yet, July 16th, Kennedy makes 2 weather information requests before takeoff. Visibility 10 miles along route, 4 miles at Martha's Vineyard. Conditions, visual meteorological conditions. Legal for visual flight rules flight. Legal but marginal. Legal but not recommended. Kyle Bailey. Pilot planning similar route that evening. Cancels his own flight. His words later. It was a little bit hazy for me to fly over water. You can have a really clear day, then fog just rolls in minutes. Other pilots flying similar routes that night report no visual horizon due to haze. Water and sky blend together. No reference points. Disorientation waiting to happen. Fellow pilots with more experience say no. Kennedy says yes. Essex County Airport, 8:38 p.m. Now we return to that moment. Now we understand what we witnessed. Flight instructor stands near the Piper Saratoga. He knows the conditions. He knows this pilot's experience. He knows the numbers 310 hours total, 55 at night, 36 in this aircraft. He knows the ankle, the crutches, the haze, the darkness coming. He offers plainly, "I can fly with you tonight." Kennedy does not hesitate. "No, thanks. I've got it." We have spent an hour understanding this moment. Age 3 funeral day, birthday, father's casket passing. Mother whispers. Child salutes. Cameras capture. Lesson learned: perform strength when you need comfort. Be symbol when you need to be child. Coping mechanism as survival. Age 29 bar exam. First attempt fail. Second attempt fail 11 points short. Public humiliation. Hunk flunks. Front page. First time being JFK Jr. cannot save him. First time name is not enough. Shift from name as asset to name as burden to prove. Age 35 to 38. Build George magazine to prove independent worth. Magazine failing by July 99. Partners exiting. Advertisers gone. Proof of independence proving dependence on mythology. Age 38. Marriage failing. Living separately. His coping mechanism: displacement through performance destroys what requires vulnerability. Every escape route closing. Magazine meant to prove bar exam failures, wrong failing. Marriage meant to prove he can maintain what he builds, failing. Both proving bar exam lesson right name without substance equals nothing. The mechanism: displacement through performance will not allow him to accept help now. Accepting flight instructor equals admitting I'm not capable enough. I have limitation. The performance has failed. Cannot admit that. Not when everything else collapsing. This flying himself. Getting there himself, this he can still prove. 8:38 p.m. 25 minutes after sunset. Darkness gathering. Haze thickening. Kennedy never files flight plan. No paper trail. No request for assistance. Perfect performance of self-sufficiency. Perfect setup for death. 3 people board. Carolyn. Reluctant. Tense. Hoping reconciliation possible. Lauren. Peacemaker. Believing love can save them. Kennedy. On crutches. Alone. Sufficient. The Piper Saratoga lifts off. After Point Judith. Rhode Island Kennedy heads directly toward Martha's Vineyard. Direct route over water shorter. More efficient. Alternative route follow coastline. Visible lights on ground. Reference points. Orientation. Kennedy chooses direct route over water. Speed over safety. Proving he can do it over surviving the doing. 8:38 p.m. departure. 9:40 p.m. descent begins. 1 hour and 2 minutes of flight. 1 hour of everything seemingly fine. Believing the performance is working. 1 hour of being JFK Jr. flying plane, proving capability, until suddenly, he cannot. 9:40 p.m. Spatial disorientation, no visual horizon due to haze, water and sky indistinguishable. Darkness complete. The inner ear says level flight. Body feels balanced, upright, straight. No sensation of turning or descending. The instruments say banking turn. Descending. Artificial horizon shows tilt. Altimeter showing altitude loss. Airspeed increasing. Which to believe: body or machine self or external authority. Kennedy has spent 36 years learning to trust himself over external authority. Every time before, it worked. Trusting himself got him through father's funeral, through bar exam eventually, through magazine launch, through marriage proposal. Performance always worked. Until tonight. Tonight, for first time. Reality cannot be performed away. Tonight. Physics does not care about mythology. Tonight. The sky does not know his name. In cockpit, the mechanism becomes literal. Cannot trust instruments because that means admitting I'm disoriented. I am inadequate. I need help. I'm not special. Body says I am level. I am fine. I've got this. Graveyard spiral. Plane banks left. Nose drops. Speed increases. Tighter turn. Steeper descent. Accelerating. Physics taking over. No recovery without instrument training. No survival without accepting I'm lost. I need help. I cannot do this alone. But he does not have instrument rating, and he cannot admit he is lost. The spiral tightens. The instruments scream truth he cannot accept. The body lies with confidence he cannot reject. Performance versus reality. Mythology versus physics. And in this final moment, seconds from impact, does he understand? Does recognition break through? We will never know. The cockpit voice recorder was not required for this aircraft. The final seconds remained silent, private in the only way his life never was. But we know this he did not recover. The performance that saved him at 3 killed him at 38. The lesson learned at father's funeral: perform strength. Never show weakness became the lesson that killed him over dark water. Impact. Approximately 7.5 miles southwest of Gay Head. Martha's Vineyard, 9:41 p.m. The Piper Saratoga strikes the Atlantic Ocean at a high speed. In a steep descent. In a banking turn Kennedy could not see and would not admit. 3 lives. 3 people who should not have been on that plane. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, age 33, who quit career and identity to marry him, who knew choosing him meant losing herself but chose love anyway, who spent last months trapped behind pale green door, who agreed to one more wedding, one more performance, one more chance, who died flying toward reconciliation that required vulnerability he could not give. Lauren Bessette, age 34, Morgan Stanley, executive, the peacemaker who tried to save them, who kept her own career, her own identity, her own life outside the mythology, who boarded plane believing that caring enough could save people from themselves, who died because she loved her sister and believed in second chances. John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., age 38, born into ending of someone else's story. Learned at age 3 to perform instead of feel, to salute instead of cry, to be symbol instead of human. Spent 9 years trying to prove bar exam failures wrong, building magazine and marriage to demonstrate worthiness, refusing help because asking for help means admitting inadequacy, who died doing what he should not have done, under conditions he should not have accepted, with limitations he would not admit, because 36 years of performing strength made admitting weakness impossible. The little boy who saluted his father's casket became the man who could not ask for help in cockpit. Same mechanism, same refusal. Fatal this time. NTSB final determination. The National Transportation Safety Board determines the probable cause of this accident was the pilot's failure to maintain control of the airplane during a descent over water at night, which was a result of spatial disorientation. Factors in the accident were haze and the dark night. Then, the devastating assessment. The pilot was inexperienced and unprepared for the conditions on the day of his death. He was not ready. He knew he was not ready. He did it anyway. He died because he could not admit he was not ready. Not because he was stupid. Not because he was reckless. Because he spent 36 years learning that admitting limitation equals failure. That asking for help proves inadequacy. That saying, "I cannot do this alone," means the bar exam was right. The name was not enough. The mythology was always empty. The lesson never learned. Age 3. You can perform strength instead of showing weakness. Cameras record. Nation approves. Mechanism validated. Age 38. You cannot perform your way out of graveyard spiral. Instruments ignored. Physics unforgiving. Mechanism fatal. The boy who learned to salute instead of cry became the man who learned to fly alone instead of ask for help. Same lesson. Same performance. Same mechanism that saved him in front of St. Matthew's Cathedral killed him over Martha's Vineyard Sound. Perform capability when you are not capable. Show strength when you are weak. Say, "I've got it," when you do not. Trust performance over reality. Trust mythology over physics. Until the night the performance stops working. Until the night mythology meets reality and reality wins. And then spiral. And then impact. And then silence. And then water. And then nothing. The performance is over. The search. Plane expected 10 p.m. Martha's Vineyard Airport. Not there. Carolyn's friends concerned. Asked airport employee Adam Budd to investigate. Budd called FAA Bridgeport Station for tracking information, but did not initially identify which airport he worked at. Told tracking information cannot be given over phone. Bureaucracy. Protocol. Procedure. 4 hours lost. Authorities did not begin searching until 2:15 a.m. Saturday, July 17th. After Kennedy family friend contacted Coast Guard Woods Hole Station directly. 4 hours when maybe. 4 hours a possibility. 4 hours while 3 people floated in darkness. Or did not. We will never know if faster response could have changed anything. Likely not impact was catastrophic. But the delay reveals something even in emergency. Mythology both helps and hinders. Family friend with Kennedy name immediate Coast Guard mobilization. Initial caller without name blocked by protocol. The name that imprisoned him in life mobilizes Navy in death. July 17th through 20th searching. Coast Guard, Navy, Air National Guard. Multiple ships scanning waters off Martha's Vineyard. Helicopters circling. Divers preparing. America watching. Cable news non-stop coverage. Thousands gather at Hyannisport compound. Flowers pile at pale green door in Tribeca. Strangers weep for man they never met but believed they knew. The nation searching for miracle cannot accept physics applies to JFK Jr. Surely somehow he survived. Maybe emergency water landing, maybe clinging to wreckage, maybe swimming to shore. The boy who saluted at 3 cannot die at 38. The mythology so powerful it refuses mortality. 5 days of hoping legend transcends reality. 5 days of believing Kennedy name means exception to rules. 5 days of collective denial that people who fly into ocean at high speed do not survive. President Bill Clinton extends search. Presidential resources deployed. Navy ships, divers, sophisticated equipment. The cost never discussed. The hours never questioned. Protocol demands effort even when everyone knows what they will find. Hope demands gesture even when hope is gone. July 20th, 1999. Airplane wreckage located. U.S. Navy divers from recovery ship USS Grasp. Depth approximately 120 feet below surface. Atlantic Ocean, 7.5 miles southwest of Martha's Vineyard. Debris field about 120 feet long. Main cabin found in middle. Fuselage shattered. Wings separated. Engine torn. The physics of high-speed impact with water no different than concrete at that velocity. The Piper Saratoga that left Essex County Airport intact arrived here in pieces. What did divers see descending through dark water? What details did they not report? The victims recovered from main cabin, bodies still strapped in seats, together at the end. Did the end come instantly, consciousness extinguished before awareness? Or was there time, seconds to understand, to reach for each other, to know we will never have answers? The cockpit voice recorder was not required for this aircraft. The final moments remain silent, private in the only way his life never was. July 21st, main cabin raised, placed aboard USS Grasp. July 22nd, 5 additional dives. Remaining wreckage retrieved. Investigators documenting, photographing, measuring, building case. But cause already clear from debris pattern. Impact site. Flight path, reconstruction, spatial disorientation, graveyard spiral, pilot error. The bureaucratic language that means he got lost and could not admit it. July 22nd, at request of Senator Edward M. Kennedy. Bodies cremated and ashes prepared for sea burial. Traditional Kennedy privacy. No public viewing, no open casket, no photographs. Control what can still be controlled. July 23rd. Ashes transported back to crash site aboard Navy destroyer USS Briscoe. Short service. Family present. Prayers spoken. Ashes scattered over water where plane went down. No grave in cemetery. No stone with name and dates. No marker for public pilgrimage. Just Atlantic Ocean. Just coordinates 7.5 miles southwest of Gayhead. Just water keeping secrets. Memorial service. July 23rd, Church of St. Thomas More, New York City, private, family, and close friends. Candlelight service, July 24th for Lauren Bassett Christ Church, Greenwich, Connecticut, where Bassett's sisters grew up, where Carolyn was once voted ultimate beautiful person in high school, where normal life existed before Kennedy mythology. Now 2 sisters dead, one surviving. Lisa Bassett, a only surviving sister, loses both Carolyn and Lauren in one night. Not because of weather, not because of mechanical failure, because one man could not admit he needed help. Mythology consumes not just the bearer, but everyone who loves them. July 17th, Rory Kennedy's wedding scheduled at Hyannisport compound. The destination he never reached, the obligation that required the flight, the family gathering that made the risk seem necessary. Wedding postponed. Becomes gathering for grief. Another Kennedy celebration consumed by tragedy. Another joyful occasion turned to mourning. Rory's wedding eventually held. Later. Quietly. Privately. But July 17th will always be the day her cousin died flying to her wedding. The day that required him to perform family duty. The day the compound claimed 3 more lives without anyone stepping foot on the property. 5 days of searching, for bodies or for answers, for Kennedy or for something larger, already lost. The illusion maybe they survived, maybe exception to physics, maybe mythology is real. The reality, mythology cannot override gravity, cannot restart stopped hearts, cannot resurrect the dead. The search ends where it had to end, with truth, with bodies, with finality that even Kennedy's name cannot negotiate away. The performance is over. The ocean does not care about legacy, and America must finally accept he was mortal after all. Chapter 9. The Compound. Rory Kennedy's wedding was scheduled for July 17th, 1999, at Kennedy Family Compound, Hyannisport, Massachusetts. This was where he was flying. This was the destination that required the risk. This was the obligation that made refusing flight instructor impossible. This was the family duty that killed 3 people. The compound sits on 6 acres of waterfront. 3 main houses, white clapboard, green shutters, American flags, lawn stretching to private beach, the aesthetic of old money trying to look casual, the geography of dynasty pretending to be normal. This is where Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. purchased Main House in 1929 for $25,000, where the mythology was made, where every significant Kennedy moment has been staged for 95 years. This is where JFK learned he won the presidency. Election night 1960, where family gathered after Dallas. November 1963, where they gathered again after Bobby's assassination. June 1968, where they gathered after Ted's Chappaquiddick. July 1969, where they gathered after every triumph, every scandal, every tragedy. The compound is magnetic center, the place where being Kennedy means something, the place you must attend, the place that demands presence, the place that required Kennedy to fly through haze with healing ankle because missing Rory's wedding at the compound equals unthinkable. So he flies. So he refuses instructor. So he dies 7.5 miles short. He never made it. The place that made the mythology, made the performance, made the pressure, made the flight, made the crash. He died trying to reach the source of what killed him. The irony complete. 26 years later, Maine Kennedy Compound House donated to Edward M. Kennedy Institute for You Senses. Senate. Non-profit organization. Mission: promote civic education, teach democracy, inspire public service. The Institute now offers limited educational tours. CEO Adam Hines describes vision: use this historic location to inspire bipartisanship, to teach compromise, to bring opposing parties together far from Washington's partisan pressures. Proposed use: Camp David for Congress. Hines calls it location that allows us to do unlike any other in country or world, quite frankly. The place where mythology was made now teaches how to unmake it. Where power was consolidated now teaches compromise. Where dynasty was built now welcomes enemies to dialogue. From family fortress to neutral ground. From private compound to public lesson. The transformation, perfect symbol, what destroyed Kennedy, now tries to teach what might have saved him. If only compound had taught compromise instead of performance, vulnerability instead of strength, asking for help instead of proving sufficiency. But it did not. And he died. October 2024. Ethel Kennedy dies. Age 96, widow of Robert F. Kennedy, last of that generation at Compound. After her death, children agree son Max Kennedy and wife Vicky take stewardship of Robert and Ethel's house. 2025 renovations complete. House modernized, elevated, and beautiful. The routines continue. Max Kennedy describes typical summer day. Children get up, go swimming in morning, go sailing at lunchtime. Sometimes fishing trip, game like capture the flag. Dinner where everyone comes together. Swimming, sailing, touch football traditions preserved. But who is swimming? JFK gone. Robert gone. Ted passed 2009. JFK Jr. gone. The people are different. Those who built these traditions no longer here to enforce them. The compound remains. The mythology fades. Caroline Kennedy, the survivor. Only surviving child of JFK. Only living member of immediate family from Camelot era. Estimated net worth $250 million. 2025, richest living Kennedy. Served as U.S. ambassador to Japan under Obama. Currently ambassador to Australia under Biden. She kept the wealth. She accepted the inheritance. She did not try to prove the money did not matter. Her brother tried to earn the name instead of inheriting it. She is alive. He is not. Perhaps that is the answer. Perhaps accepting what you are given mythology. Wealth. Burden is survival. Perhaps trying to prove you deserve it is death. She made different choice at every junction. Kept low profile. Avoided press. Lived quietly. Raised children privately. Did not launch magazine to prove intelligence. Did not learn to fly to prove capability. Did not perform normalcy to demonstrate worthiness. Simply existed. Accepted name. Used advantages. Stayed alive. While brother performed and proved and tried and died. 2 children of JFK. 1 strategy acceptance. 1 strategy proof. 1 alive. 1 dead. The compound stands as testament to both. The final question. July 22nd, 1999. Ashes scattered at crash site. Short service aboard destroyer. Family present. Water receiving remains. No grave in cemetery. No stone with name and dates. No marker in earth. Just Atlantic Ocean. Just coordinates 7.5 miles southwest of Gay Head. Martha's Vineyard. Just water where plane went down. Physical traces remain scattered. Compound still stands now teaching center. Magazine back issues archived. Documentary footage replays. CNN 2025 American Prince. Life documented more thoroughly than almost any human before television age. But one image remains more permanent than any of these. November 25th, 1963. 3 years old. Father's funeral. Pale blue coat. Red shoes. Small hand rising to forehead. The salute. NBC News vice president called it most impressive shot in the history of television. Photographer Dan Farrell called it saddest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Both true. Both horrifying in their truth. This photograph is his real gravestone, more permanent than compound buildings, more defining than wealth, more lasting than magazine that folded 2 years after his death. This image frozen at moment of maximum loss. Captured at instant of performance, replacing grief is what remains. Not the man, not the achievements, just the performance. Just the 3-year-old boy performing strength when he needed comfort. Just the moment when he learned to be symbol instead of child. Just the salute that began the mechanism that killed him 36 years later. This is his grave, this photograph. This moment when grief became public property and authentic emotion became impossible. Everything after follows from this. Bar exam performance, George magazine performance, marriage performance, flight performance, all rooted here. November 25th, 1963. Age 3. Learning perform or be consumed. What could have saved him? The exits existed at every stage. Not easy exits, not comfortable exits, but exits that did not end in ocean. Age 29. Summer 1990. After 3rd bar exam attempt. After national humiliation. Here therapy. Someone to say the mechanism formed at age 3 is destroying you at 29. Performing strength is not same as being strong. You can ask for help. Asking for help is not weakness, it is recognition of reality. Reality is no human does everything alone. Reality is limitation, is not failure. Reality is you are enough without proving. He could have sought therapy. Processed the wound. Understood the pattern. Learned that vulnerability is strength. That admission of need is maturity. That accepting help is how adults survive complexity. His childhood never permitted. He did not, age 35 to 38. George magazine struggling, partners leaving, advertisers vanishing. Here quit. Walk away. Admit tried. Did not work. That's okay. Market wants tabloid. I cannot do tabloid without feeling insubstantial. So I walk away. Failure is not death. Magazine folding is not proof that bar exam was right. It is proof that one business model did not work. He could have quit in 1998. Saved millions. Saved partnerships. Saved dignity of choosing to close rather than bleeding out. He did not. Age 38. Marriage failing. Living separately. Here, be honest. Sit with her. No cameras. No performance. Just, I don't know how to stop. I was taught at 3 that performing equals survival. I'm stuck. I need help. Can we find help together? He could have been vulnerable. Could have admitted the mechanism. Could have asked for help together, therapy. Counseling. Something. He did not. July 16th, 1999. Essex County Airport. 8:38 p.m. Flight instructor standing near Piper Saratoga offers plainly, I can fly with you tonight. Here 4 words that save 3 lives. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. With instructor aboard, spatial disorientation still happens, but instructor recognizes immediately. Trust the instruments. You are in spiral. Here is what we do. 3 people land safely Martha's Vineyard. Late for wedding, embarrassed, but alive. Or even simpler, 3 words that save 3 lives. Let's not fly. Cancel flight, drive to Vineyard, take ferry, arrive late. Carolyn annoyed but alive. Lauren tired but alive. Kennedy embarrassed but alive. 2 choices. Both require same admission, I have limitation. He chooses neither. Not because he does not know risks, he knows. But knowing is not enough when 36 years of mechanism says admitting limitation equals death. 4 words at airport. Yes, thank you, appreciate it. 3 words to Carolyn. Let's not fly. 2 words to therapist years earlier, I'm struggling. 1 word, when George failing, quit. The exits existed. All required same key admission of limitation. Recognition that doing everything alone is not strength. It is mechanism from childhood that stops working in adulthood. 3 words he never learned to say, I need help. 3 words that would have saved 3 lives. The exits were there. The mechanism made them impossible. Because taking exit means admitting what 36 years of performance was designed to hide. I am not enough alone. I need help. I cannot do this by myself. 3 truths that would have saved him. 3 truths the salute at age 3 taught him to never speak. The question: what would John F. Kennedy Jr. have become if he had been allowed to be insufficient, if bar exam failures had been private, if George magazine could fail without proving him worthless, if marriage could struggle without tabloid cameras, if he could accept flight instructor without admitting defeat, if crying at age 3 had been permitted instead of saluting required? What if insufficiency was okay? What if being JFK's son was neither credential nor burden? Just fact. What if help was strength, not weakness? What if he could have grieved at father's funeral instead of performing for cameras? We will never know. He never learned. Never unlearned the lesson from age 3. Never broke the mechanism. Never asked for help in way that mattered. Never admitted limitation until too late, 9:41 p.m., July 16th, somewhere in cockpit during graveyard spiral. Maybe finally understanding that instruments were right and instinct was wrong, but by then, physics already in control and no recovery possible. Did he understand in final seconds? Did recognition break through? We will never know. Final moments remain silent, private in only way his life never was. The answer: the photograph is the real grave. The salute is the real death. The plane crash just made it official. Did John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. die, July 16th, 1999? Or did he die, November 25th, 1963, at age 3, when small hand rose to salute and cameras captured and nation approved and mechanism validated? The crash completed what began November 1963, finished the trajectory that started when 3-year-old boy learned perform strength, never show weakness, be symbol when you need to be human, survive by saluting instead of crying. 36 years later, still performing, still proving, still unable to accept help, still that 3-year-old boy saluting father's casket, still believing that admitting need equals death, still choosing to die rather than admit insufficiency. The mechanism formed at moment of salute killed him at moment of spiral. Same lesson, same refusal. Fatal this time. The boy who learned to salute instead of cry became the man who learned to fly alone instead of ask for help. Same wound, same mechanism, different ending only in finality. He never learned the answer. The answer was always yes, he was worthy without proving. But mythology said no. Performance said prove it. Mechanism said never stop, and he could not stop. Not even at 9:40 p.m. when instruments screamed truth and body lied with confidence and choice. Between trust and denial meant choice between life and death. The plane crash did not kill them. The salute did. November 25th, 1963. 3 years old. Small boy. Big cameras. Dead father. Performance required. Mechanism formed. Death delayed 36 years. But inevitable from that moment. The photograph is his gravestone. The salute is his epitaph. And the question remains, was any of it ever his? The life, the choices, the death, or was he always just performing script written at age 3, following trajectory set by mythology? We cannot know. He could not know. The performance was too complete, the mechanism too total. By the time you realize you are performing instead of living, maybe you are already dead. Maybe you died at 3. Maybe everything after is just epilogue. The search is over. The body found. The ashes scattered. The compound stands. The photograph remains. The mythology that killed him continues. The performance is over. But the mythology never ends. It consumes the mortal and preserves the symbol. He wanted to be man. He died being symbol. The photograph won. The wound at 3. The death at 38. The photograph that captured both. The gravestone that needs no stone because image carved in national memory deeper than marble ever reaches. This is his grave. This salute. This performance. This moment when he learned survive by not being human. The lesson that saved him, killed him, and we watching from shore. From safety. From distance mythology permits, must ask, would we have done differently? Could we? Can we? The exits existed. Do they exist for us? Do we see them? Do we take them? Or do we salute and perform and prove until we too run out of sky and spiral and refuse help and impact water, believing until final instant that we have got it, that we are fine, that we are capable, that admitting need equals death? His answer killed him. What is yours?